Automatic type detection in Power Query only looks at the first 200 rows. Although not all users are aware of that, it is clearly documented. But there are other limits. Some use 100 rows, others 200 or 1000. Some limits only affect what you can see, others influence Power Query and the code it generates. In some cases, that could mean potential data loss. I've been exploring these limits to see which are documented, which are visible, and which are easy to miss. In this video, I'll share my findings. Hi, I'm Melissa, and it's good to have you here. If you want to work along, you will find a link to the resources below in the description. Let's start with one that's easy to spot. Inside the formula bar, you'll see that I've combined two tables. The first 1000 rows contain values. The next 1000 rows contain nulls. Most users rely on column profiling to quickly get a sense of their data. You will find that on the View tab. Let's enable column quality and column profile. Power Query reports 0% empty. Now that's not right. But when you look below in the status bar, you will find column profiling based on the top 1000 rows. That explains it. By default, data profiling is based on that top 1000 rows. And in this sample, every one of those rows contains a value. So the profiling result is correct for the sample it inspected. But that doesn't mean the entire dataset. So let's click on that notification, because you can switch to scanning the entire dataset as well. Now column profiling is based on the entire dataset, and the result changes. 50% empty, which we know is correct. The profiling result wasn't wrong, but our assumption about what it represented may have been. Keep in mind that profiling the entire dataset can require Power Query to inspect more data. Depending on the source and the volume, that could come at a performance cost. So just switch that back to the top 1000 rows when you're done validating your data. The preview pane is the central workspace inside Power Query, and that shows the top 1000 rows from cache. But it isn't the only place where you're only looking at a sample of your data. Nested values can be reviewed too. This table contains a nested table, a nested list, and a nested record. When you click on the white space beside a structured value, a secondary preview appears at the bottom of your screen. This nested table contains 50 rows of data. But when I look inside that secondary preview, only the first 20 rows are shown. For a nested list, you will find a similar pattern. This list contains 50 items, and when I scroll down to the bottom, only the top 20 are shown. For records, it's a different story. This record contains more than 10,000 fields, and all of those fields are available for inspection. Now, of course, this is just preview behavior. It doesn't impact the value, but it can influence what we assume about that value. Let's look at an auto filter list. Honestly, this sample couldn't be much more simple. I have one column with 1001 unique values. The filter list will load 1000 distinct values. Not 1000 rows, 1000 unique values. Power Query may warn you that the list may not be complete, and could even offer you the option to load more, enabling you to load more distinct values until it's reached its limit. Now we get to examples that concern me more. First, automatic type detection. For unstructured sources such as Excel, CSV, or text files, Power Query can inspect the first 200 rows to infer column types. That limit is documented. But here's what's important. Assigning a wrong type doesn't have to raise an error. Even the documentation illustrates that. Let's say the top 200 rows contain a whole number, and row 201 contains a decimal. When you go to Transform, Detect Data Type, Power Query determines the column contains whole numbers and assigns this an integer. That means row 201 that contained 1599 now becomes 15, without error and without warning. The decimal part is simply gone. It's truncated for all values in that column. That makes this more dangerous than an error. Everything can look completely fine, but the precision has been lost. And that can affect every calculation and every analysis built on top of that data. Automatic type detection can be a convenient starting point. Just make sure to review the types it assigned and correct where needed. Because a successful conversion doesn't mean the type was correct. Next, column from examples. Personally, I've never used this feature, but many people love it, and I do understand why. There are two things to keep in mind when you use it. First, always review the code it generates. But second, and more importantly, be aware of its limited operating range. So when you head over to Add Column, you can choose Column from Examples. This column from example experience only works with the top 100 rows of your preview. That is documented. Power Query uses these rows with the examples you provide to infer a transformation. Now imagine that every value in those first 100 rows follow a similar pattern, but a new pattern emerges in row 101. That row isn't available in the column from example experience, so you can't provide an example for that variation. The solution is to create a temporary sample, ensuring that that top 100 rows of your data contains all of the different cases the transformation needs to handle. Once an expression has been generated, the temporary sampling step can be removed. Before we get to the interesting expand operations, I want to show you an exception. This column contains lists. For the first 1000 rows, every list contains 3 list items. The row after that contains 4 items. Now when you click that expand column option here, you'll find 2 options: expand to new rows or extract values. So when you expand to new rows, Power Query doesn't have to scan anything. It simply creates a new row for every list item, no matter where that row is located. So when it reaches that final row, the one containing 4 items, 4 rows are created. Simple as that. The other option, extract values, works differently. When you select that, it attempts to convert all of the list items to text before combining them using a specified separator. There's no scan needed. Whether a list has 3 or more items and its position in the dataset is completely irrelevant, but the same thing can't be said for its siblings. Here's a column containing nested tables. The first 1000 rows contain a nested table with 2 columns. The row after that has a 3rd column. Now, when I open that expand option here, Power Query inspects rows to discover available columns. There's a warning telling us the list may be incomplete, and there's an option to load more. Now it tells us the scan limit was reached, a warning to indicate not all columns may have been found. Let's expand these columns. The function receives a column names list, telling it which nested columns to expand. That same list is also passed to the new column names, which is optional, so we can get rid of that. If a column appears first beyond its scanned limit, its name won't show up. That doesn't impact the nested value. That column is still there. If you're unaware a column was missed, it could mean potential data loss. Depending on how well you know your data, that warning message could be a trigger for you to decide how to proceed. For example, you could add a temporary column that returns the number of columns in that nested table. Or better yet, collect all of the column names from that nested table. Inspect variations and decide which columns to expand. You can always edit that column names list manually. So I could add 3, the missing column, which you now can see on the final row. But if you add a column name that's unmatched, this function doesn't raise an error. The takeaway is simple. Never assume the UI discovered all columns. Verify when needed. Records follow a similar pattern. Only the first 1,000 rows are scanned. You may have this option to load more, but eventually it may reach its scan limit, and it's up to you to determine how to proceed. Now for the transformation I'd be most cautious with. Split column. A split column operation inspects the first 200 rows when deciding how many destination columns to create. I haven't found that limit documented anywhere. Unlike the expand menu we've seen just a minute ago, there's no indication here that there's a limit at all. Here's our sample data. The first 200 rows contain 3 values. Row 201 contains 4. But the dialog suggests to create 3 destination columns, not 4. And without warning, a scan limit was reached. You might be surprised to learn that the split column function has an optional parameter named extra columns. That controls what happens when a splitter returns more values. But its default is extra values ignore. Ignoring extra values, that could lead to potential data loss. Well, at least now you know its limit, and that you can decide to handle extra values differently. Sampling is useful. Without limits and previews, Power Query would need to inspect far more data every time you interact with the editor, slowing down the query development process. The problem isn't that sampling exists. The problem is assuming a sample represents the entire dataset. Some limits are documented. Some are visible in the UI. Others discovered by testing. Being aware of these limits will help you design better queries. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time.